The Jared Dillian Show.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show. If you want to call to talk about your money, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is The Jared Dillian Show, broadcasting from New York City. And after the show, I'm going to grab dinner at Millennium Porcelli's, or is it Porcelli? Which is the home of the Cracklin' Pork Shank, their signature dish. But I will not be eating that because I am a vegetarian, and I will be instead eating a wedge salad or something like that. I'm actually having dinner with a guy I went to business school with at the University of San Francisco from 1998 to 2001. And the University of San Francisco, by the way, it's a Jesuit school. And the business program, I mean, look, like, it didn't have a very good reputation. It was like ranked 170th in the country or something like that. And I got to tell you, I got an amazing education at the University of San Francisco. And what I found was that when I got to Lehman Brothers as an associate in 2001, I actually knew more than all of my friends that went to Ivy League schools. This actually raises a whole bunch of interesting questions about higher education, what really the goal of higher education should be. If the goal of higher education is to learn stuff, then, you know, maybe paying $80,000 a year for a fancy education is not the best path. The one thing that I can tell you from my experience is that you get out of it what you put into it. You get out of it what you put into it. And when I was there, every moment that I was there that I was not in class, I was in the library learning more and more and more stuff, teaching myself stuff. And I got an incredible amount out of that education that continues to pay dividends to this day. And like I said, when I got to Lehman Brothers, I knew more than everybody else, and it was absolutely fascinating. Oh boy, this whole debt issue. You know, there is this belief that persists among people that we're going to be able to pay for this stuff. Just to, you know, I'm not opposed. I am opposed to Medicare for all, but what I'm not opposed to a public option, which is something like a disaster insurance. I think there should be a public option for basically high dollar medical treatments, but that's beside the point. So I'm not opposed to like any public involvement in medicine at all. But if we're going to spend $52 trillion in healthcare, a lot of people believe that we're going to do this and we're not going to raise taxes on the middle class. And that is, I can tell you, is not possible. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of sacrifices that people are willing to make. Because if you said to somebody, okay, you can have free medical care, but your taxes are going to go from where they are now, which is about 10% to 30%. Do you think people would be cool with it? See, a lot of people think that their taxes won't go up. This is all the rich people are just going to pay for it. But like I said, if you taxed all the rich people at 100% and only raises $100 billion, it's not going to pay for Medicare for all. So taxes on the middle class have to go up. And I don't think people have really prepared for that. And I actually wrote a piece last week where I talked about middle class taxes because Donald Trump is contemplating a middle class tax cut. And there is a bracket from $80,000 to $150,000 in family income, household income, that is currently taxed at 22%. And he hasn't proposed this formally, but people speculate that he's going to lower that tax to 15%, which would mean that if you make $150,000 a year, you get taxed 0% on the first $24,000. You get taxed 12% on the next $60,000, and then you get taxed 15% all the way up to $150,000. So $150,000 that's a decent amount of money. If you have a household that makes $150,000 a year, that puts you approximately in the top 6% of all households. And these are people that are not going to pay. They're going to have an effective tax rate of probably not even 10% after taking into account deductions and credits. You're talking about people who are richer than 94% of all the people in the country, and they're going to pay less than 10% in taxes. Correspondingly, these are the people who think that you can have Medicare for all and taxes won't go up on the middle class. So sometimes I wonder, let's say, for example, Bernie Sanders does get elected and he does what he's threatening to do. And I believe he is credibly threatening to do it, passing Medicare for all under reconciliation without even needing 51 votes in the Senate. Then it is possible that that taxes on the middle class could go up a lot. And I think that would come as a rude shock. Now, I wonder how people would react to that. Would people then say, hey, I didn't sign up for this, and then vote Bernie Sanders out after 4 years? Or how would that work? By the way, the tax code. So if you go back to 1988, I don't remember the exact income levels, but the bottom tax rate was 15%, and the top tax rate was 28%. And that was it. There was only two tax brackets, 15% and 28%. So over time, the top rate has gone up and the bottom rate has gone down. And what we have is a situation where a lot of people in the bottom end aren't paying anything at all, and a lot of people in the top end are paying for a lot. And one of the goals of a tax code is fairness. It doesn't seem super fair. By the way, if you want to call in and talk about this, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. The other thing is that once you get taxes up above 50%, then people start changing their behavior to avoid paying those taxes, or they don't work. Okay. I can assure you that if taxes got up to 70%, then I would think hard about what I do for a living. I have a decent amount of money in the bank. I could have a good life. I could spend a lot of time in the gym. I could work out. I could play racquetball. I could hit the elliptical. I could do music. I could produce music. I could do DJing. I could do all these things. And I wouldn't have to put up with a 70% tax rate. So there's a limit as to how much in taxes that you can collect. So, by the way, if you've ever heard of something called SupplySide Economics, and a lot of people are like voodoo economics, but SupplySide Economics, this was pioneered by a guy named Art Laffer. What Art Laffer said is that there is an optimal tax rate that maximizes compliance and increases revenue. And it is the idea, which is counterintuitive. It's the idea that you can lower tax rates and increase revenue. And that's, that works. It does, but it works over a very long period of time. It works over about 15 or 20 years. I really believe that the Reagan tax cuts in 1986 led to a lot of revenue being collected all the way throughout the 90s, culminating in the late 90s with Bill Clinton and the dot-com bubble and all that stuff. I really think that was due to the tax reform of 1986. I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show.
The Jared Dillian Show.